What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Combat Lounge. I have a special guest today, Mike Hamel. Let's get started.
Now fires back. Oh, there's Fury with the right hand. Wilder's hurt. Wilder's hurt. He wildly almost fell over into the ropes. He is close to going out.
Magic Mike Hamel, how is it going, brother?
Oh, not too bad. Taking some time off, relaxing. It's going good, man.
Are you back in the gym?
So I would have been back in the gym. I'm doing my strength and conditioning still, but I just got a new tat, so I kind of got to let that heal up.
How's what's it? So I wanted to ask you. I'll start off this interview just ask you kind of like what's it like training at the lab, because it seems like they have like a family culture over there. A lot of professional guys are over there. They seem to have a lot of love and a lot of great things to say about Coach Crouch and Benson and Rob Emerson and all the guys that are down, all the great guys that are down there. Can you kind of walk me through like what it's like training there? And, even for newcomers, it seems like they take anybody and they build them into killers.
Yeah. So we don't really take anybody, right? Like either you got to sort of form of credentials like when you're coming in, or you got to be super consistent in taking like our classes. Like we have a lot of guys on our fight team who are there twice a day doing morning classes, night classes, like busting their butts. They're doing their Saturday amateur sparring, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you said it best. Like we're a family over there. Benson always said, y'all got teammates, I got brothers and sisters, and that's so true. We've kind of preached that whole lifestyle that like we're there for each other, and when you have a fight, your brothers and sisters are the ones who gave you rounds, so when they have a fight coming up, like you better be there for them. And a lot of other gyms aren't like that. But on the other side, like kind of why I think we are so close and why we have the success that we have is because we bust our ass. There's not a gym in the world that works harder than us. And people will say that they'll come and do camps here and it's too much for them, like we won't see them again. Like by week 3, they're broken down, they're getting injuries and stuff like that. Not from like us beating up or anything, but just their body's not used to working that hard. We're a very high working gym. You don't see MMA lab guys gassing in there.
Does the lab take a lot of beginner guys that are newer to mixed martial arts that show up and want to put the work in? Do you guys offer beginners classes and stuff like that?
Well, yeah. So there's a beginner kickboxing and beginning jiu-jitsu at the gym, right? So it's like you could be Joe Schmo off the street. You can come in, and if you don't ever want to be a fighter, you can go take classes there. Like that's what most of our clientele is. The fight team's a really small portion of the gym. So
you only get on the fight team if you want to fight amateur or professionally, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously not going to get on the fight team if you don't want to fight,
Yeah, no, of course. But like if you have, so like somebody goes in there and they want to train for a couple of years and just start off at an amateur level, like you guys have stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, you could potentially, it's one of those things where Crouch has to see the talent in you, and he's got to see the drive, and he's got to see the commitment and consistency. Consistency is the biggest thing. MMA is one of those sports where it's like you don't have to be 6'4" to be in it. You can be a normal bodied person, and you can achieve a lot of great things with just showing up. That's kind of our motto around the gym: just show up.
Yeah. So Mike, another thing I want to get into too. I was there at 293 when you got your finish over Nick Brown.
Yep.
That was insane. Is that something that you kind of saw in the fight, or was that something that you more so saw on tape from watching him in previous fights that you said, maybe there's an opening for that?
Yeah, I throw head kicks in all of my fights. Like if you go back and watch, like I'm always trying to throw that, and I landed a lot in the room, but it's different in the room, right? Like, you know, the fighter's tendencies, and you pull, we call it pulling, right? Like I'm not kicking my teammate's head off. Like if I see it's going to land, you know, you do that. So it's like, I get that every once in a while, but we had really just wanted to hurt him to the body because we knew once he gets hurt to the body, he starts getting hit up, he starts leaning a little bit and he gets real square at you, right? He doesn't stay bladed like a typical boxer. He kind of starts getting square and his punches kind of come wide. So we thought the body kicks were going to be there. Well, you can't really see it if you watch the fight because the camera angle was bad, but I hit him with a side kick and I heard the air come out of him. And so then he started,
I saw the side kick.
Yeah,
I saw the side kick.
Hurt him because then he started getting real square. And I remember looking at him being like, I think that head kick's going to be there. And so I threw it, not really thinking much about it. And then it didn't even feel like it landed. You know, I just felt like I kicked right through him. So I didn't know if it landed. And then I saw him go stiff and hit the cage. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah, man. And, you know, it was a crazy finish because it was like, you know, obviously we're there working. We're like putting our notes in and everything. And I look up, and right when I look up, the head kick lands. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, that wasn't long. You know, it seems like got to the cage. No time to even look down at your phone or your laptop. But no, that was crazy, man. It was a crazy finish. You know, I was going to ask you, you said like you're taking some time off and stuff like that. Do you have any, like, I guess not fight news, obviously, because you're not back in the gym fully yet, but is there any cards that you would like to hop on? Like, I know like Bellator Chicago is coming up in June.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Oh, you are on it. You did get on it.
Yeah, I signed the contract and everything, but they haven't announced it yet. So I don't know if I'm not going to say who I'm fighting because they haven't announced it yet. So I'll hold off on that. But I'm fighting June 16th in Chicago. So that's why I'm kind of like still doing my conditioning so I don't get out of shape. But as far as like time off the mats and everything, you know, it's needed. You go through camps, you get bumps and bruises and stuff, letting the body heal up fully before I jump in on another hard camp.
Yeah, I was going to ask you too, you don't have to say who you're fighting. Obviously, that's not news that Bellator's broke, so that's not news you're probably going to break. But I'll say, is there any names that like in Bellator that like you want to fight? Because here's the thing with you, right? You're on a 3-fight win streak. You dropped 2 fights. One was to the champion, Nurmagomedov. Then you went back and you won 3 fights, and you're not even in the rankings. So to me, it's like, you know, where do you want to go from here? You know, like, is there names in the top 10 that you're like, give me that guy?
Yeah, you know, all those guys in the tournament are freaking killers. You know, like every single one of them has the potential champ, or, you know, there's former champs in it. Like Benson was in the tournament, you know, he's former UFC champ. Brent Primus, former Bellator champ. You know, then you got Tofik, who is a Ryzen champ. Like you've got dudes who just are killers. You got AJ McKee in it, stuff like that. So it's like eventually I'm gonna fight those guys. Not not saying that I want to fight those guys. I do, but I'm saying eventually, like I'm gonna get our paths are gonna cross, you know, and I'm gonna take that when I can. But right now, like that Gabsy Ramdov, he's already booked for that Chicago card too. But I look at that, I'm like, bro, like, yeah, you're ranked in the top 10, but it's like, who have you beat? Like he went all 3 rounds with Nick Brown. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that I couldn't have gone 3 rounds. I tend to do that with most people, but you know, like the fact that he's ranked and I'm not, it puts a little chip on my shoulder. And the fact that he got to go to Japan and do that fight, that's like a dream fight for me, you know? So I'd love to fight him. No ill will towards him or anything like that. But really that's the only one that like sparks interest, because those guys all in the tournament, like they're all booked out. They're in the tournament. You know what I mean? I'm not. So I'm happy with the matchup that I just got. That's cool. After I beat the shit out of this guy, time for one of those top 10 guys, you know? That'll be 4 in a row. Start giving me those guys.
Yeah, because I'm not a matchmaker or anything, but one fight that like stood out to me, I don't know if you'd agree or not, but just kind of looking at the Bellator rankings, I'm like, okay, Archie Colgan just broke the top 10, if I'm not mistaken. I think he got into 10. So I'm like, what if, you know, Mike's on a 3-fight win streak? Why don't we start him off with fighting a guy like Archie for cracking that top 10?
I'm not fighting Archie. Me and him are home. Both wrestled at Wyoming. I know he's one of my good friends.
No, he's a great guy, man. Is it like that for you though? Like there's just some guys that you're just like, no, I won't do it just because of our brotherhood.
I mean, there's no point for me to fight him if it's not for a belt. You know what I mean? Okay. Me and we have talked about it. Like we actually got offered each other and we both said no to it because we're like, what? No, I'm not going to fight one of my good buddies, make things awkward for our whole friend group, make it awkward for us, you know, like you don't want to fight your friends. It's different, like wrestling's a lot different, you know, but like fighting, it can get personal really quick, you know, and then you're taking out of some dude's wallet. Like Archie's got a kid, he's got another one on the way. Like, say I go and I beat him in just a grueling fight and it's a split decision and somehow I get the win. And then what, he hates me forever, you know, because I took.
No, I get it, man. Some things are just not worth it unless it's for something like a belt. And I'm a big fan of Archie Colgan myself. I
Great.
follow his career, fantastic guy, you know. So I completely get that. But I'll listen. We'll get off this. We'll get off the fighting topic because I like to do other things than talk about fighting with you guys. And tell me about this barbecue Mike, man. Like I hear you just cook it up, man. Like you're just crazy on the grill. I'm like, man, Mike need to make me something, man, if it's that good.
Yeah, dude. So I got started with like a little pellet smoker, you know, like everybody gets like a Traeger and, you know, they like smoke chicken or pulled pork in it every once in a while. Like I kind of just fell in love with it. I was like, dude, this is good. You know, so I started kind of getting good at that. And then I got myself like a Kamado type thing, you know, it's like the big green egg or like the Kamado style cooker. So I got myself one of those. And then I was like, you know, the only way to control temperature is through like 2 vent things, how big your fire is. So you can start playing with like real wood and charcoal and stuff like that. And I really liked that. And then through the butcher shop that I work with, Lee Bones Fine Meats, he introduced me to this guy called Ty, and Ty ran Fat Ox Barbecue and Fat Ox Metalworks. So he builds custom smokers and runs award-winning barbecue catering service. And so I started hanging out with Ty and I was like, hey, like, can I come help you out with like a cook one of these days? And dude, we cooked like 20 briskets, like 15 pork butts, like racks of ribs, like, cause he's got a big old 1,000-gallon cooker. And it was awesome. I was like managing you got to put in a real wood. You got to control the door, the damper on the front. And like nothing else compares to real wood smoked food. Like low and slow like that, like nothing as far as barbecue goes, right? Like obviously there's other types of food that are damn good. I love Mexican food, but it's like slow cooked barbecue like that, you're not going to get any better than on an offset. So he actually built me like a custom 100-gallon offset grill or smoker. I mean, so I got that in the backyard and I'll cook stuff up on that sometimes, but it's grueling. You know, you're doing something every 20 minutes. So it's like if you're cooking a brisket for people at noon, your ass is up at 3 a.m. in your underwear manning a fire. You got, you know, I'm sure my neighbors hate me. It rained one time 1 in the morning and I had like the leaf blower on wood trying to get it started.
That's dedication right there. Like, how many years have you been doing this? Like now with the whole smoking the food and stuff.
About 4, because so I got the Traeger when we got married. We used some of our wedding money. We just got married 4 years ago. So yeah, I've been smoking food for like 4 years now, but only on that offset for like coming up probably around a year now. So there's still some things that like I'm not the best at, but as far as the backyard barbecue goes, man, I'll put my money up against about damn near anybody.
So you like is this something that you've picked up your own secrets that like you know you just have your way of doing things that you've figured out through doing this?
I've messed with like some sauces. So I'd say like one thing I've kind of dialed in is like ribs. You know, like I can make like a really good like sweet and spicy rib, and then I can make like a really good dry rub rib. But like as far as like most of the stuff, dude, I watch YouTube videos like all day, especially when I'm cutting weight. Like I'm just watching YouTube smoking videos. You know, so I follow people like Chud's Barbecue or like Meat Church or like Mad Scientist. Like I watch all their stuff, and you know, you pick up hints and tricks and stuff like that. But all of it's just trial and error, and it's also like your audience. You know, so like I like really spicy, but it's like I'm not gonna make my ribs burn your butthole. You know, like I gotta make it all right for everybody else there. So you know, you just kind of learn your audience a little bit and find some things. It's like, okay, this works for generally everybody. So if I have everybody over for the fights or have some of the guys over, I know what to do.
You kind of do so when you're cutting weight and stuff like that. Have you found sauces or stuff that you can have that won't like hurt that, or do you have stuff that you can cook doing that, still doing what you enjoy that won't kill your weight?
Yeah, but I mean, like a lot of the sauces that like aren't gonna like really hurt you are gonna like hurt you in another way. So just because they say like 0 calories, like it might have a bunch of like artificial sweeteners in there that like kind of trick your body into putting on stuff. So it's like really when I'm cutting weight, dude, I just keep it super simple. It's like chicken, steak, rice, broccoli. Cook your meats in olive oil or your veggies, you know, so you're getting healthy fats. Switch it up with sweet potatoes. Like it's just super basic. for me. But no, I get all my enjoyment. Like, I'm not one of those guys that, hey, I'm cutting weight, don't eat around me. Like, no, get here, let me order for you so I can see what you're getting.
Are your ribs your favorite thing to eat, like to cook?
To cook, yes, because it's like it's a between a 4 to 6 hour cook, depending on like the size of them and like how low and slow you go. Like if I'm like kind of in a rush, I can get them done in like 4 hours and they still turn out good, you know. But like that's like a long enough cook to where it's reasonable. Like I love brisket; that's my favorite thing to eat. But dude, I've cooked like 2 briskets in that fat ass smoker because it's so much work.
Yeah, man, that's probably that's probably the best. I mean, that's probably my favorite smoked meat is brisket. Like,
Yeah,
but I've heard that it's definitely the longest.
yeah, because you got to cook it super low, right? Like I can cook my ribs at like 275, and they'll still be perfect. But it's like that's such a tough cut of meat that like if you don't break down like the collagen and like the intermuscular fat in it, like it's just still gonna be tough and dry by the time you get it done if you don't do it right.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you earlier, but now I'm pretty much answered my own questions. I was gonna say after a fight, you get home, what's the first thing you're eating? I'm guessing you're throwing something on your like your smoker or the what is it called again?
I mean, yeah, my offset smoker.
Your okay,
But yeah, you think that, but it's like, dude, when I get done with the fight, I'm like so lazy. I
okay.
go out to eat. Like, let's go get pizza, wings, beer, Mexican food. Like, I'm getting all the things. Like, cause I have a ton of smoked meats during camp. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get a whole chicken and throw it on the smoker. I'll get a tri-tip and throw it on the smoker. So it's like, honestly, like kind of by the end of camp, I'm a little burnt out on it. And I'm like, let's just go get all the greasy shit I couldn't get before.
Yeah, man. Another question I want to ask you, start to wrap this thing up, is kind of like, what are some things outside of fighting that you enjoy doing besides cooking? Like, what are some things that your family do? I know you're from Arizona. I'm from Arizona as well. What are some fun things around Arizona that you and your family just do often?
Uh, I actually grew up in Wyoming. And then I moved here in 8th grade. So I've kind of split my time, but a big outdoors person, you know, like I enjoy going camping, hunting. I love the lake. I love the lake. Like that's going to be one of those things when I start making real money, like the wife and I are probably going to throw some money down on getting a boat. You know, because it's fun. You know, you take a cooler full of beer, some chips, thrash somebody up on a tube. Like it's a good time. I like doing that. But big family oriented person. You know, Sunday dinners at my grandma's house or my mom's house, whoever's cooking. Got a big Filipino family, so they normally cook like
Nice.
a bunch of Filipino food, which is amazing. You know, so just stuff like that. But I'm a people person too. You know, so the wife and I, we like to go hang out with like our friend group on the weekends, whatever that entails, whether it's a pool party or playing cars or shit, just drinking beer, hanging out, watching fights.
Yeah. Do you guys just stay around here when you go to the lake, or do you like Havasu and Parker? Because I grew up as a kid. We did a lot of Havasu and Parker, and then now I do. Pleasant's real easy to get to. So I mean, it's just
Yeah, we just always go to Pleasant. Like maybe we'd go to Saguaro sometimes, like if we really wanted to mix it up. But dude, Pleasant's so big, and you know it's super convenient. You know, like for me, it took us when we went out there the other day from where I live, it took me 20 minutes. So it's like you can't beat that. 20 minutes to a lake, cool.
so. To wrap it up, my last couple questions to you is: there's some big fights going on in Bellator this weekend.
Yeah.
Who do you Rafion Stotts and Patchy Mix is kind of an interesting fight. Who would you give the edge to in that fight?
You got to give it to Rafion. Um, Me and him actually roomed across the hall from each other when we were both wrestling at D2 Nationals and stuff like that. So I've known Rafion since we were both wrestling in college. The dude's a stud, and people don't, because he doesn't always use it, but people don't get like how good his wrestling is. Like it's going to be hard for Patchy to get to the ground. I think it's a lot like the Archuleta matchup for him. You know, like he couldn't really get to Archuleta too often. And Patchy's big, but I mean, Rafion used to wrestle at like 149. Like Raf cuts a lot of weight to make 135. I'm sure. Like he's a big boy too, even though he's not as like tall and so I think just like as far as striking goes, you got to give it to Rafion. As far as wrestling goes, you definitely have to give it to him. And grappling, like, yeah, Apache probably has the advantage, but I don't even think he can get to those positions, in my opinion. I've called fights wrong numerous times,
Well,
but
of course, anything can happen.
as a matchup, that's what I think. And you know, I'm very biased. I'm always going to go with the wrestler.
tell the people where they can find you at, Mike, on Instagram, Twitter, any social media platform that you use. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yep. So Magic Mike MMA. Type in Magic Mike MMA. I'll pop up. It's the dude with the cartoon and the pit vipers on. So
awesome. Yeah, you can't miss it.
follow.
You can't miss it for sure. You guys can find me at Cade Morehouse. That's the same on Twitter and Instagram, at the Combat Lounge on Twitter and at the Real Combat Lounge on Instagram. Don't go anywhere. Stay backstage, just so I can say bye to you and everything like that. But it was a pleasure to have you on the show, man. Hope we can talk again soon. Maybe after your June 16th fight, we'll schedule something. But again, thanks for the time, Magic Mike Hamel.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for listening, guys.